Hey everyone, thank you guys for joining Zap with JC today. This is an open mic special. My name is JC. I am the founder of Directo3, a multi-blockchain company that specializes in application software and financial services. Today, we are honored. We have Jovan Agee with Agee Global Solutions. He is a CEO and founder, also has over 20 years experience in government affairs. And today we have the pleasure of having him as a guest to give us a lot of good feedback and information on how he got started and also where he's going with his company and to just give us good information on life in general to help us out in our community. All right. Thank you, Javon.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's a pleasure. How's everything been with you?
Been good. It's been busy. I always say that the industry that I'm in is recession proof. So,
Okay.
no matter what's going on in the economy, real estate development's going to be happening, political campaigns are going to be happening.
Right.
Companies need people to help them go, lobby and do things of that nature. So,
Okay.
it's never a dull moment.
So Javon, I guess we'll just get right into it. I know I've known you for a very long time. You've been an inspiration for me, many people. You actually one of the most intelligent, brightest individuals that I've ever met in my whole entire life, and you've been a
Thank you.
positive role model for me. I want to ask you, how was it in your early years getting started as to where you are right now? And then we'll go into, Agee Global Solutions and what you do and how you help companies excel.
Yeah, so I think I've been one who's always, been able to kind of understand the big picture.
Okay.
Not be so caught up in, my immediate needs, the immediate present situation, but always be mindful, of those things while always kind of having the long view.
Right.
But ultimately, that's just the vision aspect of it. I think, the heart is important. I think caring about people. I think if
Okay.
you truly care about people, then, it'll show no matter, what your expertise may be.
Right. Right. That's actually really good. I feel the same way. It's all about, finding a solution to be able to help people and care. And from there, it's like things just kind of form together, whether they're with partnership or if you have your own ideas, it kind of just forms together. So do you have any tips on how to go about doing that as far as anybody else or what did it take for you to get to that point?
Yeah, I think people get to where they are, in my mind, really kind of through two different approaches. I think you have some people who, they've been blessed, to have clarity of vision. They know at a young age, I want to be a doctor, and they just become a doctor. And then I
Right.
think I think you have others who kind of find their purpose through deduction. You
Okay.
kind of try a lot of things, you may not like them, and then you start to, kind of purge some of those things out the way and say, okay, so you start to hone in, after trying
Yes.
a couple different things. And I would say that, I probably tend to be more of the latter group, where
Okay.
there's a lot of different things that I could probably be good at, a lot of different things I'm skilled at doing. There
Hmm.
aren't things necessarily I want to be doing every day, but you got to
Okay.
try it, right? So I would say I think, for the person out there that's trying to figure out, their purpose, their calling, what it is they're supposed to do with their life kind of thing.
Right. Hmm.
Usually that question in and of itself means that you're probably in the latter group. If you don't have the
Right.
clarity, it means you're asking that question. So,
Yeah.
in the latter group, I think it's just getting out of your head and just doing it. Because you have to experience things and get in and say, do I see myself doing this for the next 5, 10, 20 years? And
Right.
then if not, maybe it's just a situational or a seasonal thing to get you to the place you want to get to.
Exactly. No, that makes a lot of sense. Now I do have a question. What motivated you? Is there anything that motivated you? I understand you said, what you just explained right now. But there's also, some people are blessed with those talented gifts.
Hmm.
I know you're very talented. Some people are just blessed with having a real high IQ level.
Hmm.
But what motivated you? I feel like there's always some sort of motivation that gets us to that point, right?
Yeah. I think for me, what motivated me was two things. One, control. I like
Control.
I
Okay.
like I like to be in control. I'm not
Right.
necessarily a control freak. I know how to defer. I know how to follow when necessary, but I like to be in control. So I
Okay.
think, that's really kind of what drove me to not become complacent, even when I was in positions where, I could have stayed in a role and retired and, been had a very easy life, right? Just kind of coasted for the
Right.
rest of my life. But it didn't necessarily afford me the control, whether it was control of my schedule, whether it was control of, all sorts of things, my travel, vacation time, whatever it is, I like to be in control, or even what it was we were focusing on.
Right.
Sometimes even if you're in a role, you have control over your role, but you don't necessarily have control of over the overall organizational mission with what it should be
Right.
doing, right? So I think control
Right.
was the number one driver. But then I think the other side of that was like 50% of it. I think the other 50%
Okay.
of it is that control, because I didn't necessarily like some of the things that I saw happening as it pertained
Okay.
to people that I care about. So then, you have these ideas, coming from certain environments, coming from certain communities where people who oftentimes are harmed, by people in
Hmm.
control. So my goal was to hopefully become someone in control so that I can kind of help change some of the environments and situations that I was able to see firsthand.
Hey, I love to hear that. I feel like in our community, we don't have enough people that are in control that can control the environment to help. And to hear you say that, because there's a lot of people that are in control that aren't doing enough. So when you have someone that is in the community that is understanding of that, because you saw certain things that you wanted to actually change yourself, and you're bringing value, it makes a lot of sense, and it's very, very welcoming, especially to a person such as myself, because you know um, we don't have enough people that have that type of understanding that wants to actually give back and take part, to operate their own uh, company, and then also help the communities that are surrounding us. So
Hmm.
that's really big. So, like, let me ask you this: as far as right now, I know you mentioned real estate. I know you mentioned the political side. Can you give us a bit about your history, and what is AG Global Solutions about, and how do you help companies? Uh, can you give us some information?
Yeah. So, about me personally, was raised an only child, single mother, grew up,
Okay.
California native, grew up in the Central Valley, born in Madera, California, raised in Fresno, California. Consider myself kind of be this anomaly in a sense, right? Because,
Okay.
grew up, one aspect of my family, my life was church. Another aspect was sports. I was a Gates student. Um, and then, I played sports. So, you kind of create this at times what would be a quandary, because what society wants to do is it wants to define you. It wants to put you in a
Right.
box. So, as you're growing up, oftentimes you try to, for most or some, I should say, they try to fit in that box. And I would say that that's, what I was trying to do, probably really until I got into about my high school years. I was really trying to fit into boxes that society or, my peers around me had already created, right? Or the culture around me had already created. And so it wasn't probably until I got into my high school years where I really started to understand, my gifting, and I think how different I really was, and really start to understand that no, I can become a standard bearer, right? I don't have to
Right.
try to meet someone else's standard or someone else's benchmark or someone else's definition. And so, whatever I am is cool, or whatever I am is popular, whatever I am, it just is, right? If no one else thinks about it, I'm gonna show you, kind of better than I can
Right.
tell you. So that's kind of, the personal side of it. That then, took me into my college years, where while I sort of gained that confidence as a person, I still didn't have the clarity professionally, right? But I
Okay.
think really gaining that confidence personally helps you professionally, because you know that, if, hey, if I go do this and I spend a year doing it, I don't like, it's not the end of the world, right? I'm not a bad person. I'm not a dummy. I'm not stupid. No, you just went into something and it just didn't fit. It wasn't a good fit. It didn't
Right.
work for you. So, long story short, ended up finishing out my degree at Sacramento State. I had a major in political science. I ended up getting a paid internship for a labor union in their political department. And just I'm a big observer. So I would say that, out of all the gifts that people may speak about who know me, I would say I think my number one gift is my ability to observe. I'm a
Okay.
sponge by nature. I can read situations very well. I can read people very well. I think I
Right.
have very good instincts, knowing what to say and do when and where. And so, kind of being in that space, I think I saw a lot of similarities in politics and my role in it that I saw in sports. And so, but what I saw was, unlike you have in sports, is you have a lot of people that are high wage earners, and for the most part, as long as they are good stewards of their money, they'll be okay, right, for the rest of their
Right.
lives. But that's not the case in government. In government, you literally have winners and losers, right? In
Got it.
terms of money, right? So in sports, you kind of have people say, oh, the owners make all the money, and then the athletes are kind of on the short end of the stick. Well, their short end of the stick is still millions of dollars, right? Not to
Yeah.
say that that's
True.
okay and they shouldn't make more, but that's still a very good life. Whereas in government, if you're a loser in government, you could be homeless. If you're a loser in government, that could mean that your neighborhood doesn't have trash pickup. If you're a loser in government, that could mean that your schools get shut down or your schools don't have textbooks. So what I found is in government, the losers, the stakes are high. There's lives at stake, right? It's not just a matter of, am I a 1.2 million millionaire or 1.5 because my contract didn't get extended. So my heart just kind of gravitated more towards government, particularly because, I see a lot of people taking advantage in the space with their control and with their power. And, at times it may be easy or convenient to do so because the people who are most often negatively affected don't show up. Or if they show up, they don't even know what they should be asking for, what they should be doing. And the people in control aren't going to teach them how to get their fair share against what they're doing, right? I'm not going to teach you how to be a better negotiator against me kind of situation. So coming into the space, I saw a lot of opportunity for me to, bring in some justice, to bring in some righteousness, to level set, to shift the balance of power. That's kind of really what I've been about for the last 20 years.
Hey man, you just said some real heavy statements there as far as like the topics, and I can really truly understand because I went to a high school in Los Angeles, and my high school, I remember we didn't even have books a lot of the times in our classes. And I just remember in my English class and in my my history class, we had like 25 students in each class, and we had one book,
Mm.
and during class, we would have to share this one book and pass it around. So, like, one student would read one paragraph or a whole page, and then we would pass it around. And I just remember that. And when I got to college, it was really, really difficult for me to really gravitate and understand, that I was really behind. And we didn't have the necessary tools to get us to that next level. So when you said that, a lot of the people in these positions don't know what to ask for, it's very, very true because without knowledge, man, you have no power, you have no understanding. So I have a real good question for you right now. Where do you think that we can make change? Like, how do you think we can make change to where there can be a solution for this? Do you feel like there can be?
Yeah, definitely. And there's sort of three kind of compartments in which I kind of base my work, right? So there's the
Right,
what I call inspire, empower, and then activate. And so I think that we have one of the things we have to make sure never goes away is hope, right?
right,
Once hope is gone, nothing else matters. You could be a billionaire, and if you have no hope, you go commit suicide, right?
true,
You could be the president of the United States or a king in a foreign country, but if you have no hope, then you're ready to commit suicide. So first and foremost, hope has to be in place. And so I think that for me, what I want to do is be an inspiration because that helps provide hope for someone else. If I can tell my story, if I can show people and try to simplify it, then that helps them think that, oh, well, it isn't a waste of time. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing, or maybe there's something that I'm not doing. And that little bit of information, that little bit of knowledge, which is the word you use, provides hope. So for me, the
right,
first step is, we have to continue to inspire those of us who I think have had the opportunity to be in positions where we now have a little bit of control, have some dollars, have some influence. We have to continue to make sure that we're inspiring. That's step one.
okay,
I think the next step is then empowering. And this is where I think this is a heart check moment because I always tell people you'll know who a person really is when they get power and money, right? Give a
yeah,
person, a lot of people say a lot of things, but give them some money and give them some power and see if they still stick to that script. And I tell young people that all the time they get into my space, oh, I want to do what you're doing. I say, okay, let's talk 20 years from now, right?
right,
when you start getting six figures, when you have a senior executive title behind your name, I want to see if you're still saying the same things then that you're saying right now, when you can actually do
Eh,
something about it.
That's true. You see that, especially like in impoverished communities and stuff. You have people that make it. The one thing I know, growing up in Los Angeles, the people that make it don't really come back to help out.
Hmm.
So it's you're really right about that. It's one of those things where I feel like we don't have enough people to focus on. Like, the one thing I'm really big on is networking, which I know you're
Hmm.
excellent at that.
Hmm.
But networking is one of those things where I feel like that almost needs to be implemented in the classroom,
Yeah.
just because it has a lot to do with how people will structure their mindset in order to come back in that 20 years to be able to deliver and help. Um,
Yeah. You just went on mute. There you go.
bad um well, not, I'm not going to say bad, I would just say it's missed, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like everything you said is really hands on, as far as we can actually take the next steps to get to that point.
Hmm.
And it really makes a lot of sense with the information that you actually provided.
And I mean,
um
I think it boils down to like finish that. I think it boils down
yeah.
to those whose hearts are really about the common good, right? Not the
Right.
people who are about, this Republican versus Democrat stuff, this black versus white, men versus women, all that stuff that consumes our news, right? But for the
Right.
people who are saying, look, most people, most average person that's out there and that's in need of help, they can care less about, some of those things. So
Right.
I think it's really important is though people who have that kind of heart, they have to really get into a position where they start having more money and more power.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. um I wanted to ask you, I think we probably have about 10 minutes left on this, but
Mhm.
just to clarify with you, um the the community aspect, right? Because I hear you talk about a lot of empowerment and help and finding solutions. I mean, you have Agee Global Solutions, so solutions is in your company,
Yeah.
and I know that that's what you're really big on. I'm big on that too. What do you think that there's something, if you can do one thing in the community to help people, what would it be exactly from your part?
Well, I definitely think it takes more than one thing.
Okay.
But again, I think if there's only one thing I could choose, it would have to be the hope, because without hope, you have nothing.
The whole. Right.
Um, But just in my business alone, I think, it's comprised of three pieces, right? So I have three pillars that stand up my business. You have the political pillar, and that's everything from campaigns, electoral work.
Right.
That's helping people get in office, hopefully good people, right? They talk a good
Right.
game, hopefully get in office, they remain. The second pillar is my lobbying work. So that deals with like, new laws, regulations, ordinances, but at the federal, state, and local level of government. And then my third pillar
Okay.
is real estate development. That helps with like
Right.
permitting and entitlement, and then helping people get financing for the real estate development projects. So
Right.
I think, talking about like what is the one thing, it's almost hope, but not just like theoretical hope. It's almost knowledge hope. And what really needs to happen is, to your point about the networking in the schools, what really needs to happen is that people need information that is really tailored to them, because we all are uniquely gifted. And we have to understand like our role in this ecosystem that we call Earth, that we call society, right? That we call our cultures, or we call our communities. And too often, we have mentors that are trying to make you them, right? They're trying to clone themselves,
Hmm.
or people are giving you advice based off of outdated systems, right? The world is changing. And so I just really say that hope, and in knowledge that helps you where you are get to where you want to be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. It starts with the hope, but I
Yeah.
like how you mentioned that it's hope with knowledge, because people need the information.
Yeah.
And then also with the real estate development that helps people, especially like, people can have better housing development for affordable housing to help people as far as like the homeless sector. Kids, there's a lot of kids that their parents may not be able to afford the rent. and then they end up homeless, and just it's a lot of things that can go into that, and it makes a lot of sense. I do have to ask you, because we're going to be closing, how can people find you to contact you? And what services are you providing from Agee Global Solutions, your company?
Mhm.
And yeah, so that way we can have people contact you in case they want to connect with you.
Yeah, so you can go to my website. It's www.agglobal.com, and it's AG, my last name, so it's AGEE global.com. And from there you can find, mailing information, call information. You can find out about my services there. So that's probably the best way to do it.
Okay, for sure, man. What I will do, if you don't mind, I will add your website, and then also that way people can be able to find you. I don't know if you use social media or whatnot, but I'll add your website. Then that way people can drop a like, comment, and then also find your details and connect with you. I think you're a great inspirational person. I admire your work ethic, your focus, and also just for you being you and being, very understanding and understanding what we need in our community. And I just think that it's a blessing to have people like you, because we don't have enough young people that are really aware in the government affairs. I feel like we need more people that are around our age group or younger to get involved. I feel like everybody in that aspect is in that space is becoming dinosaurs, and
Yeah.
you can see it even with blockchain. Just like in blockchain, I feel like we're behind compared to the rest of a lot of other countries, and that's why we're in the position where we are. But Jovan, I wanted to say thank you so much for being a part of Zap with JC. You are actually my first guest. I hope I did well interviewing you. You
Yeah,
did
no, thank
excellent,
you.
man. And
Yeah, no,
I
thank
just
you.
want to say, yeah, definitely, thank you, man. Seriously, and hopefully you'll be willing to come back, and we can have some more discussions on other topics and talk about, you know, just everything. Because I feel like it's good to have that type of understanding so people like us can understand.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, and I'm very
Yeah.
thankful to not only be invited, but to be the first. So thank you for that opportunity.
Yes, sir, man. All right. We'll end this.